Hello, crypto world. Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel, I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. I'm going to start at the very beginning of the Bitcoin chart, and I'm going to take you through its history. My goal in this video is to help lay out the chart in a way that I believe can help you. It's helped me navigate the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin can at times be easy to read. Other times it can be really challenging. It has baffled the greatest minds studying the Bitcoin chart down to simple analysts like me. However, the way I'm going to break this down, I believe it can help you navigate the macro structure of the Bitcoin chart. So just to let you know, it is my belief that Bitcoin has a repetitive macro structure. By the end of this video, you'll have a good understanding of that structure. So let's get started. This chart starts with this red box. This red box is hard to see, but we can make it a little easier to read by making it a fractal. So this fractal is actually a decline. So this red box is a decline. Bitcoin starts with a decline. I don't know if it's a full decline or a partial decline, but it starts with a decline. After that decline, it begins a structure that will eventually become very parabolic. So the beginning part of this structure is the beginning part of the bull run. So price moves up and essentially goes flat. It's a plateau. We see this spike here. That spike is going to evolve into waves in the future. But as we can see right now, it's just a move up, it goes flat, and then it moves up again. This second wave is the second box that is part of the repetitive structure. So in this wave, price moves up and then pulls back. It then does the same concept again. This time it goes even higher. So this is box 3. Now there is a defining feature of this third wave. It has a very large pullback. There's also 2 waves actually in this structure. The first wave is typically smaller than the second wave. The box that comes after this third wave is the final crown jewel of the bull run structure. This is where price goes parabolic. So it pulls out of this decline and then it just rockets up to a peak. This is why people get into Bitcoin. Unfortunately, you have to go through a lot of other stuff to get to this. What happens after this? Well, it goes back into a decline. This is a crash. This is a bear market. However you want to call it, that's what it is. After this comes to a capitulation point, what does it do? It goes back into fractal 1, and as you can see, it moves up and it just goes flat. In the same way that this first box did at the very beginning of the Bitcoin chart. What does the second wave do? Well, it moves up and then pulls back, just like we see in this second wave. It moves up and it pulls back. And then it goes into the third wave, which is higher than the first 2 waves of this structure. And wow, look at this. I mean, this is just, it's crazy how high it moves up. So it moves up and then it pulls back in the same way that this first third wave moves up and pulls back. And then finally, it goes into the fourth wave where it goes parabolic. Notice how it comes to a low, then moves up. Well, let's zoom in. It comes to a low, then it pulls up, and it doesn't start shooting up right away. It kind of goes up at an angle. Sometimes a fractal can play out on a more horizontal or vertical axis than the original, or sometimes part of a fractal can do that. And that's what we see here. It starts moving up at a steep angle, coming to a peak, and then what does it do after the fourth and final structure? In that greater bull run structure, it comes to a peak and declines. So once again, this decline is the bear market. So once it comes to a capitulation point, it moves up into that first wave where it just kind of goes flat or plateaus like it did the first time it printed this structure. So after this first wave, it goes into the second wave, and this one looks quite different, but it does the same thing. It moves up and then pulls back. There's a series of waves. If we look at the original structure, there is also a series of waves that brings it to a peak before pulling back. The way this was expressed was different. It was more horizontal versus vertical, but it does the same concept. So here is the third wave, and this first wave of the third wave is more pronounced. However, if we zoom in, it's the second wave that is the larger of the two. This one drops quite a bit more. So after this third wave, it goes into the fourth and final wave of the bull run structure. This is the parabolic wave. It comes to a peak, and then what does it do? It goes into its bear market. It declines. So notice how it's playing out on a larger and larger scale as it goes on. So once it capitulates, it moves back up, and this one has more waves to it. It comes crashing down. This was during C19. So while this one does have small waves, these waves were much more pronounced. After this first structure, it goes into the next structure with its series of waves. This second structure has similarities back to its original. Its series of waves that comes to a peak and then pulls back. As we see here, a series of waves comes to a peak and pulls back. It then goes into the third wave, and it even has the two parts to the third wave, the first wave, and then the second wave with its steep pullback, in the same way that we see the first wave and then the second wave with its steep pullback. And then finally, this fourth wave. So this fourth wave is interesting. It has a series of waves. The original first structure, we would also see it's actually a series of waves that take place. And this time around, those waves were much more pronounced. It also didn't really move up that high this fourth time around. So it goes into the decline. After the decline, it goes back into the first structure where price moves up. And this time we have more of those waves. It does move up and kind of moves into this zone like it did over here. So we see this evolution of the fractal as it goes through time. But in the process, it still kind of harkens back to its original structure. But we all know what the second wave does. It moves up, pulls back, and then the third wave, it moves up, and it has a substantial pullback, which is what we had been going through for quite a while. It even has a smaller wave here. Now that we're pulling out of this wave, we've made a new high. It is my belief that we have entered the beginning stages of the fourth and final wave. Now, the million-dollar question is, how high will it go? So what we see with these last two bull run structures is that they look more similar to each other in respect to deeper waves. So maybe in that same thinking, this one will be influenced by this one. I don't know. Time will tell. What we can do is we can take this structure, copy and paste it. This is what we get. Now, I matched it to today's timing, height, and depth. We can also do the same with this declining part right here on the third wave, which would look like this. So as you can see, there is some echoes from its past copying its original third wave, making the case that we've actually completed this third structure. Now, we can go through history and compare these different fourth waves. So we just looked at this one. Let's look at this one over here. So once you match it to today's timing, height, and depth, this is what it looks like. This is where I believe we are. So that was this fourth structure. Let's compare this one that takes place in 2017. So that is how this one would match up, once adjusted, of course, for the timing, height, and depth. And it's important to note that the timing, height, and depth doesn't repeat when a fractal repeats. You can repeat the structure, the basic idea, but the timing, height, and depth will always be original every time it repeats. So that was this one here in 2017. Let's do this one, which is the most recent one, and that is 2021. That's what it would look like once adjusted for today's timing, height, and depth. Now, on all of these, the height is just speculation. There is no indication that it will reach this height. It could go higher, it could go lower. Remember, the timing, height, and depth is going to be original. Let's put them all on just for comparison's sake. So that is very confusing. But there they all are. I think the yellow one or orange one was the first one. The black one was the second one. The purple one was the third one, the 2017. And the blue one was the most recent one. So what we can gather from this is it's going to be original, but it will harken back to history. What we can see here is that it has made it through this first part, and the part that we're entering traditionally has been the part where it begins to move up more rapidly. However, we do have this most recent one that it could choose to do something similar to this. If it does, it could actually pull back before moving back up. Let's clean this chart up. So there you have it, folks. The Bitcoin macro structure includes 4 separate fractals that make up the bull run. It's actually the recovery and the bull run. We are in the 4th structure at the time of this video. So if you want to replicate this, I'm just counting the basic waves. I'm starting at the very beginning and following the basic concepts that that beginning structure shows me, and then I just repeat it. Well, I hope this was helpful. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If you did enjoy this video and you're not yet a subscriber, I recommend hitting that subscribe button. I'll continue to follow up on this chart as it continues to develop. I'm so glad you caught this video. I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.